We are preparing for the Holy Supper. I thought I'd speak a little bit to both the simplicity of the act, but also the depth that it can hold, and perhaps some of the confusion that rests in between there. Because in simplicity, we can come and take the Holy Supper as an obedient act to the Lord, just simply because we know He asked us or told us to do this. And that is an absolutely beautiful way to approach the Lord's Supper, to know that this is from the Lord. He told us this is what we should do, therefore I'm going to do it. And if we want to add on to that, it becomes more effective. But as we go to try to add ideas of what this supper is and what it can do for us, perhaps we run across some areas of confusion. Things in the Lord's Word that perhaps don't make a whole lot of sense, at least at first. Take, for instance, the chapter that we just read. In chapter 19 of the book of Revelation, we have this invitation to this great supper. This is the supper of the great God. This is the invitation that we will use later today to invite you all to partake of the Lord's Holy Supper. And yet you may have noticed as we were reading that some of the things that are asked of us in this or said that we would do seem strange. Are we really going to feast on the flesh of kings and of captains and princes and free people and slaves? How can we understand this? Perhaps the most important thing about what the new church really is that the teachings that we say we believe in are the things that we are actually going to do and live by. This is the foundation of what the new church faith is. That we aren't just going to have ideas that we say we believe, but then won't follow through on acting on them. This is our pathway to heaven, is to take the ideas we believe and live them. Doesn't mean all of our ideas are exactly right to begin with, but when we live them, we can discover a little bit more. Maybe it was wrong. How do I come to know that? Well, it didn't work out. The Lord's Word kind of maybe showed us a different pattern. One of the things that's awesome about the Lord's Word, and we'll talk about this in reference to this story, is that it is immensely deep. There are parts that we can understand, even if we are the most simple people in this world. We can go to the Lord's Word and glean the most important truths about salvation. There's no one for whom the ideas, the most important ones, will go over their head and they'll miss the bus to heaven. That's not possible. In simplicity, we can go to the Lord's Word. And there are going to be some passages that just stand out among all of the others where we go, I can obey that one. I know what that means. And I know it's something I should do. I can obey it. I'm not confused about the commandment that I shall not murder. I'm not. I know what that means, and I know I shouldn't do it. I can live by that today. If we go through the Lord's Word and we see those very obvious statements, the writings for the new church call these hands and face passages. And if you look with a person like the Lord wearing the robe, you have hands that are exposed and you have the face that is exposed. And we're told that the Lord's Word is just like this. There are parts of it that are absolutely the Lord's face shining through, His love and His wisdom beaming through without any confusion. The Ten Commandments are a great example of this. Yes, there is deeper meaning beyond them, but you can pretty much be sure we shall not commit adultery, we shall not steal, we shall not murder, we shall not covet our neighbor's anythings. Those things we know. We know we should have one God because the Word teaches it. And we know that that's the Lord Jesus Christ because the Word teaches it. These are hands and face passages. But if we're reading chapter 19 of the book of Revelation, what can you do with these teachings? If you are hearing that, this is what instructions can we take and go, I can do that? Well, John was told, write these things. Blessed are those who are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. Well, that seems like a pretty hands and face thing in some ways, but it's really talking to John, isn't it? Is that an instruction that we should do? Oh, well, it says write this, so I need to write it. Maybe not. Later in that story, we can glean from it that, oh, we're not supposed to worship angels. That's a pretty hands and face thing in here. John tries to, and the angel says, no, worship God only. That seems like hands and face. I can do that, right? What about eating the flesh of kings and captains and princes and what? Really? Can we do that? I guess. Is that what the Lord's asking us to do? Well, it's really for the birds anyways, right? None of us are birds. In some ways, I'm purposefully trying to go, this seems confusing. When we approach a chapter in the Word like this, and we have a doctrine in our church that says all of the things that we believe must be lived, how do we live that? In the new church, we've been given something really special. And it's an understanding of a deeper spiritual meaning in the Lord's Word. It's not changing the Word. It's not adding to it. It's not subtracting from it. It is the Lord's Word as it's described, but it's an unveiling, a revelation of these deeper things that perhaps were hidden from our eyes before, that were hidden from our understanding, because perhaps as a human race we weren't ready for them. This image of the Lord on the white horse, we're told in the heavenly doctrine for the new church that this is an image of the unveiling of the spiritual meaning of the word to the world. That the Lord's word, this is his name, has these capabilities in our life to go forth and to conquer the beast and the deceiver and those who have had the mark on them. That we can triumph when we partner with the Lord in his word. Now, we aren't going to necessarily understand all of these symbols. We don't necessarily need to. It's useful when we come to know them, and it helps infill our understanding in a way that we can learn more of what to do. But in simplicity, if you are reading along, you could read this and go, wow, that is a powerful description of the Lord and his ability to be victorious against the hells in my life. And in the middle of this description is an invitation. Blessed are those who are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. The Holy Supper, we're told, is the marriage supper of the Lamb. When we enact this sacrament, this holy act, that it is actually us trying to join with the Lord in the work of salvation. And because the Holy Supper, this invitation, the blessed are those who are called, it happens before the image of the white horse and the Lord on the white horse, and it happens at the end. And so it's saying, if we are participating in this act, this holy act of worship, where we are purposely going to the Lord to receive from him the goods and truths that will lead us to a heavenly, happy life, this is who comes to work with us. It's the Lord. And he will be victorious. Think about those eyes like a flame of fire. That means that everything we read in the Lord's word, if we're approaching it for the sake of, I want to know what's really true, because it's true from the Lord. As we approach it, that those eyes of fire say that we're going to receive perception, a truth from the Lord that comes directly from his divine love. That fire and the eyes are a perception that comes from divine love. That the sword protruding out from his mouth is the fighting capabilities of the divine truths that he gives us. The Lord's word is powerful. It is real. His words have power. And that's why we saw Jesus using them when he was tempted in the wilderness by the devil. The devil said, "Oh, you're hungry. You want to make some bread out of those rocks?" He says, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." That actually would fill him up. When we partake in the Lord's Holy Supper, and we have a small piece of bread, maybe that's just a representation of, this is a small symbol of the actions that I'm willing to take. The implementation of the truth and the good that you are showing me in your word, that I am willing to try and implement them in my life. And I'm going to do that by doing something that you tell me to do. The Lord, it's a very simple command. Come eat bread with me. I have fervently desired to eat this Passover meal with you, he says. Take, eat. This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Do the things he teaches us in remembrance of him. I think this is a really important teaching. And the reason why is because we can get really caught up in the places we're confused. But I need to figure out what it really means to eat the flesh of kings and commanders and princes. And we can sit there and go, I really don't know what this whole Holy Supper thing is. Because of this section, I'm just so confused. It's obscure, it's weird, this image in heaven, how am I supposed to understand it? We can get stuck wondering about parts of the word that we don't yet understand, and we'll say, I'll put aside the things that I already know until I understand this. But the reality is we only come to understand the things that we don't yet know by living the things that we already do know. And so, yes, the word can feel rather confusing. I think I've spoken to at least 10 of you who have come to me at different times. I've been reading in the prophets, and can you tell me something about Ezekiel? This is weird. I have no clue what's going on. I just feel like I'm reading words on the page, and it doesn't matter, right? I'm pretty sure many of us, if we've ventured into the stories of the word, have come away going, I have no clue. And so we might want to just discard it, have contempt for that part because we just don't understand it. But what if there was a path that the Lord showed us to come to understand it later? We don't have to disbelieve it or go, oh, that's just weird, I'm not going to read it again. Maybe read it again and again and again, and then as you do the things you know, you follow the commandments, that you love your neighbor as yourself, that you worship the Lord alone, that we put aside our idols, that we do those things, then in time, as we read the Word, the Lord will give us answers. We'll start to see it in the Scripture. We'll start to understand that horses always seem to have something to do with our understanding of the Word. And so when we talk about black horses versus red horses versus pale horses and white horses, we can go, don't need to know exactly what those all mean yet, but they all have something to do with an understanding of the Word. And I'll tell you, this white horse with the Lord on top of it is a pure understanding of the Word from the spiritual sense within it. And this is something we can come to know. Not just tonight or tomorrow, but as we implement the truths we already believe in. The rest will be revealed. I'm going to read a little from our program. You can open this up to read along if you'd like. The first passage here is talking about how we are enlightened, because one of the things that's interesting about a lot of the passages in the writings is they say, those who are enlightened will understand these things. Well, how do we get enlightened? How do we become enlightened? How does the Lord enlighten us? Here's the simplest answer in my mind. Those who love truths because they are truths and incorporate them in their life are enlightened. That's it. Love truth for the sake of truth and want to implement it into your life, you are enlightened. Continuing in Arcana Celestia 3708, when anyone allows themselves to be enlightened by means of the word from the Lord, obscurity is turned into brightness. For an internal path is opened, and so influence and communication from the Lord by way of heaven takes place. But when a person does not allow themselves to be enlightened by means of the word from the Lord, but by their own intelligence, obscurity is turned into darkness, and so into falsity. For the internal path is then closed, and no influence or communication from the Lord by way of heaven takes place. This is a really important thing for us to remember, that especially as we approach the Lord's Word, because it is a document that is about our life. It's about the Lord, yes, and it's about how the Lord works in our life. We are going to come across areas in the Word where we are baffled, where there are hard sayings we might not want to believe even. Remember, we can get led astray by our own intelligence. But as we go to it, if we have an idea that eventually the Lord will show me what this means, and have that positive, affirmative view of what the Lord will do in time, then we can simply back up and do what we know. We know we should read and meditate on the Word. The Lord tells us over and over, meditate day and night, morning and evening. Say prayers at meal times. Do this in remembrance of me. Obey my commandments. There are so many things that we can already know and do. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and stunt our growth by focusing on the things that are obscure and in darkness. The Lord will bring light as we implement what is true into the way we live. So as we approach Holy Supper this morning, I'd like for us to be able to think about even this just being a simple choice to do what the Lord asked us as the starting point of our enlightenment that can come as we implement the truths that He gives us day in and day out. Amen. And please rise.